What's going on, Fantasy Football Universe? It is the Devy Mastermind of the FFU here to bring you another Devy Diamond. Now, I'm excited to talk about this guy today. Why? Because it's an IDP and he's at the University of Oregon. That's right, go Ducks. We're going to get into this defensive back right after the intro. FFU, what's going on? Again, the Devy Mastermind of the Fantasy Football Universe. Before we talk about this diamond, I want y'all to hit that subscribe button. We have daily fantasy football content coming out from start sit to waiver wire to team previews to Devy to these Devy Diamonds, which are great insight for these dynasty managers getting prepared for the next season. Now, this one's for your IDP heads that love a good defensive player. We're going to talk about one of my favorite defensive backs in this class, and that's going to be none other than Oregon. That's right, go Ducks, defensive back Jabbar Muhammad. Now, let's get into some history about him. First, he was a three-star prospect out of DeSoto, Texas. DeSoto High School in DeSoto, Texas. Excuse me. Shout out my Texas athletes. Originally went to Oklahoma State, played there for a couple seasons. Then he transferred to Washington, which he actually dominated. He actually shut down Troy Franklin in a couple games, win at Washington. And then he ended up coming to, that's right, Oregon. Now he's at the University of Oregon in his final year of eligibility. His freshman year, he actually redshirted in 2020. So 2021 would be his first season. His second season at Oklahoma State, but first season actually as becoming a starter, gain on the field a little bit more. Had 18 of 23 total tackles be solo. 18 of his tackles were solo, which is great. Just showed his ability to get on the ball and not need the help from other teammates to bring people down. And then he also had 3 pass deflections. So it's okay, show some physicality, showed his ability to get hands on the ball as well. His third season became the full-time starter at Oklahoma State. Really started to get a lot of things. His snap count nearly tripled from year over year as well. And he also had 32 of 48 total tackles be solo. 32 of his tackles were solo. Again, just showing he doesn't need teammates to help bring down opposing ball carriers. At the same time, his physical aspect to the game is something that's great about him. He's a versatile athlete that can line up anywhere, but physicality, man, he had 17 run stops this year as well, just showing his impact on what he can do at the line too. Did allow 1 touchdown this season, but had less than 60% completion percentage when targeted. So he was a lockdown corner, often going against some ones and just making sure he was disrupting those passing lanes when playing against some of your top receivers there as well. Again, the physicality showed out, but he ended up transferring after that third season with Oklahoma State to Washington. And this was a standout year for him at Washington. 51.2% completion when targeted. So just over that 50%, but again, not really letting it happen. He was getting hands on the ball, and he saw that with his 12 pass deflections, as well as 41 solo tackles. 41 solo tackles. Just again, showing that strength that he doesn't need teammates to help bring guys down. He is a physical, a little bit undersized, but he plays with the strength. He is, to me, he's the Zay Flowers of the defensive back. Like the Zay Flowers, smaller guy, plays physical, goes up there and gets it, plays with aggression. That's what Jabbar Muhammad is right now. We'll speak a little bit more on his size a little bit later. Currently at Oregon, he has allowed exactly 50% completion when targeted. He's on pace right now to gain over 60 tackles, which would be a career high, which is nice. And he has some pass deflections as well. So he's already making a name for himself at Oregon. Again, being in the Big Ten, he's just going out there and balling, man. This guy, he can definitely shut down the receivers, and it's really because his speed, which is going to lead me over to his strengths, actually. One of them being that speed. He can definitely lock in with some of your faster guys, which is great. And he has fantastic man coverage. He is someone that he's physical at the line. He'll press them, again, disrupting their timing on the routes. But then he just locks in with them. He just shadows over wide receivers from the start to the finish, which is also great. His ball skills, off-ball skills, making sure his hands get on the ball. He does have a couple interceptions under his belt, which is awesome, and this is something where he needs to get better at to bring the ball down, but he has the pass deflections to actually make it known, like, hey, don't pass my way. I'm going to get my hands on the ball, and I'm going to make sure I swat that stuff down to make sure your wide receiver is not getting it. Again, a versatile athlete. He can line up in multiple defensive schemes. You want him in the nickel? Perfect. You want him on the outside? Awesome. You want him to play safety? Sweet. You want him on the line? Okay. Yeah, he can do it all, man. Again, that comes with that physicality. You notice I'm saying that word a lot, physicality. That's what Jabbar Muhammad does, and that's why I was excited when he transferred to Oregon, simply because Oregon needed that physical type of defensive back. They needed that physicality going into the Big Ten, and they got someone like that with Jabbar Muhammad, someone that's not afraid to press bigger guys at the line, someone that's not afraid to get down and gritty in the backfield, whether it's gain a pressure on the quarterback or just gain a tackle for a loss. He'll go in there and make stuff like that happen. He just impacts it. He knows he can close in on gaps. He has the ability to bring down ball carriers by himself. Again, physicality, something that Jabbar Muhammad has. Tackling, he's a reliable tackler. You seen it when I said he had X amount of tackles, solo tackles. Majority of his total tackles are solo. He's not someone that he just gets to the ball and then he has someone else come and gets him an assisted tackle. No, he gets to the ball and he wraps up effectively and he closes in effectively as well, which is great. Physicality, another strength. As I mentioned, that's going to be his biggest part, man. Despite his lack of size, he's not afraid to go up against a big guy. It doesn't matter if your guy's 7 feet. There's no 7 feet guys in the NFL, but it doesn't matter. He'll be David to Goliath and take him down. That's what he is. Again, reminiscence that Zay Flowers was on offense for Boston College years back. He was someone that it was smaller, and that hurt a lot of people saying, he's too small. Zay Flowers plays with aggression. He goes out there and gets after the ball. That's what Jabbar Muhammad does, just on the opposite side of the ball. But that brings me to his areas of improvement. And it's not really an improvement. I mean, his size is what's going to hurt him possibly. He's about 5'10", about 185 right now, so he could bulk up a little bit. But that's something that could be a little bit worrisome to some scouts, right, or some players that or people that watch him. Is he's too small. You can't have your bigger, stronger wide receivers kind of get up over him. He's not going to allow it so easily, but they can make it happen there as well. He is a speedy guy, but his recovery speed isn't the best. So if you have your faster receivers, like let's just say Tyreek Hill, it could definitely burn him. And then if he has to recover, his hit movement to get to the back or turn around is what can affect him. Recovering off if he hits that first initial step, the wide receiver gets the best of him. Sometimes he doesn't do the best on coming back after it. Zone coverage. He is a phenomenal man coverage. And I brought up Troy Franklin earlier. When he played against Oregon, man, he shut down Troy Franklin. Actually made Troy Franklin trip a couple times with how fast he was and making sure he's disrupting them. Franklin's coming in and he's like, nope, go this way. He's making sure he does have that. When it comes to zone coverage, though, again, it comes into that recovery speed. If the wide receivers find the soft spot in his zone, chances are they're going to get to it and they can get a couple yards here and there. But again, he can close in and get after it and get the tackle by himself as well. Durability, because he's so small, or smaller, I shouldn't say so small, because he's smaller and plays with a little bit of aggression, injuries can become a concern, right? Whenever you have the smaller guys, that's why I want to see him bulk up, which he can heading into, combine season, all those things later on. He can definitely bulk up, but that smaller frame is a concern with his durability there as well. As far as draft stock, this kid is eligible to enter a draft this year, right? His final year of eligibility, 2025. I think he could be a day 2 pick. I really think so. He has to have a standout season to move into day 1. Right now, I don't see him as that. I do see him more of a late 2nd round, maybe 3rd round up to mid 3rd round. I don't think he's like late, falling in 3rd round. But late 2nd round to the mid 3rd round, I think is where he'll go. I think a great team to take advantage of him would be the Washington Commanders. Now, listen here. The Commanders need an elite defensive back that isn't afraid to get physical at the line to shut down some of these alphas. You think about your CeeDee Lambs. You think about your Malik Neighbors. You think about your A.J. Browns or Devontae Smiths, right? These guys are players that take advantage of weaker cornerbacks. They don't get pressed a lot at the line. And if they do, you can see some disruption where if they're getting pressed and either your defensive backs are getting physical within those first 5 yards, it disrupts these whole guys and it kind of takes them out the play because they can't recover to get, where they need to be for the quarterback, or the quarterback gets pressure on them that he can't look at that first read of his alpha, right? So this is something where I think Jabbar Muhammad can definitely benefit in the NFC East for the Washington Commanders, because I believe he can go in there and not necessarily be a lockdown. I mean, they're still going to throw it to their alphas, but shut down those type of receivers early on to make the quarterbacks have to go elsewhere as well. I think that's something that's missing in Washington right now. We're seeing right now that they are getting exploited on the defensive backs. Their secondary looks horrendous right now. And having someone that's physical, someone that can be a leader, someone that plays with aggression, someone that has the ability to get hands on the ball, to make the play, to disrupt a first and 10, or to disrupt the first down or a shot downfield. Jabbar Muhammad has that. I think that'll be a great asset for them in the Washington Commanders. Now, as far as his fantasy impact, not often do you take down a shutdown corner, which Muhammad can be, because quarterbacks don't target them. So there's not a lot of opportunities going their way. The benefit is he gains a lot of solo tackles. Again, he could bring someone down by himself, which does great for him on the IDP value, because typically your tackles gain a lot more than assisted tackles. A lot of time you get some defensive backs that get some assisted tackles, so their value just plummets even more because they're not getting targets their way. They're not making plays. But again, pass deflections, solo tackles, all those things can be great for him. The speed on locking down, if he's with the alphas, you're still going to target him, but yet he's still going to make the plays happen. So that's something where I really love about him, why he could be an IDP value. He's definitely someone that may go undrafted in your rookie IDP leagues just because he's a defensive back. But again, he's someone that I'm not worried about stashing him. And that's what makes him a Devy Diamond for me, because I think there is NFL fantasy value for him. It just may take some time. But again, go ahead and stash him on your taxi squads, or even if you have the spot on the bench, stash him there, because I think there's going to be some big times where he can rack up, 8 to 10 tackles and get a couple pass deflections as well. That's all I have for you for the Devy Diamond today. Oregon defensive back Jabbar Muhammad. Keep your eyes on him. He is a physical aspect for the Oregon Ducks right now. Someone to definitely keep an eye on. Don't forget, every Friday we're dropping these Devy Diamonds. We have live shows going on Sunday, Saturday. We have live shows going on throughout the week. Daily content for your fantasy football. So don't forget to like and subscribe to these videos, and let us know what you want to hear about in the comments as well. Until next time, I am SC Romero. This is a Devy Diamond for the Fantasy Football Universe. Peace.